So I left on a one-way ticket to Johannesburg and took a train up to Rhodesia. And I actually did a little skydiving in the meantime where I met Terrell. Yeah, it was it was a special 2 weeks I had there in South Africa, knocking about and meeting people. Mike McWilliams, I met him within 2 days. I walked all the way across from Sandringham, a very Jewish area, across to Sky Sports and somewhere in Joburg. Chris Dales, I met him. And I said, hey, anybody can give me a lift out the drop zone? I said, I'm just over from Israel and blah, blah, blah. And I says, yeah, let me call Mike. We called Mike and I spoke to him. He says, yeah, just tell me where you're at. I says, well, I'm Sandringham, this address, and he says, right, I'll be there tomorrow morning at a certain time. And that started a friendship that has been nothing but what an incredible, wonderful human being Mike is. And he's what a benefactor he's been to me. And he said, out to the drop zone, and we jumped all week and just had a ball. And dropped me back there on Sunday evening, hungover and miserable, anyway. And soon I filtered up to Rhodesia, and
confident again that you knew you wanted to go.
I didn't want to, and I got into Rhodesia, and I wasn't there 24 hours. And I said, this is my final stop. This is what this place is. It reminded me of from stuff I'd read from what America would have been 80 years earlier. The cars were not real at the time, real high tech. You didn't have all this things we have now today, but there was a mentality. Women were treated with respect and had their place. Men were treated the same way by women and had their place. If society was normal, not all whacked out like it is today. And it was a great place. I mean, I shot up our pub at Delport Farm once, and it was so funny what went on. One guy grabbed a girl's breast and threw it, "I'll save you." And when I was standing, I had a chimaringa, had a boom, boom, boom. I'm shooting that bell, and I was drilling it, I'm a pretty fair pistol shot, and the bartender, the guy dives over the bar, the bartender goes down, somebody went out the window, it was a place, and then I went, and I turned around and left in dead silence. Well, I was a big man then. I come back very humble the next day, and Ian Pringle's the president of the club, and he says, "Oh, it's the Merry Marksman." Now, this is the Rhodesian mentality. I mean, in the States, they had you dressed in and everything else. You'd never lived that down. And he says, you rang the bell 4 times last night. He says, so put $20 on the bar tonight and, to buy rounds. You ring the bell, it's $5, you buy rounds. Money went up, the dollar was worth a lot. And anyway, so I said, oh, yes, I'll be happy to. And he says, by the way, keep the revolver back there by the cash register or you can't get at it. And anyway, and I've got that bell now at home. It's hanging up in my garage. And, it's something I look at in the quiet of that garage. And it's like looking back in time.
Sure.
Anyway.
And the military? The
military, I ended up, I worked as a militiaman out in Chipinga, bordering Mozambique in the Tamandaya TTL. And I did my job, and I did well. I kept cattle rustling out. We never rustled a cow in the months I was there. And we never had a terrorist attack in our area either, because they never knew where I was. At night, I'd go out and I'd show signs that I'd been here and there. The terrorists are not going to come in because they don't know where I'm at. And anyway, well, I wrecked a leopard. I got drunk and I wrecked a leopard, but it was the second time I'd wrecked it. And it was the second time I knocked the right wheel off the front of the leopard. And anyway, and I paid for it, both times. But the farmer said, the committee says, you got to go. I said, I understand, but I wanted to go in the Army anyway. And so there it was. I was off, and I went to the recruiting office there in Salisbury, and and I volunteered to go in. I was very fortunate. I went in the RLI, and they didn't put me through training troop. They said, listen, you screw up, you go through training troop. I said, fair enough. But within a month and a half, I was a troop sergeant. And I didn't carry the rank. It was a corporal, but I was a troop sergeant. And you know, and I did my job well. I learned how to track. The color blindness really helped because I could see things that are out of sorts.
Yeah.
You know, and that a normal eye wouldn't pick up unless it's really trained for it.
Yeah.
And I just loved this. And sleeping out at night, I mean, I just love it. You hear lions sometimes move around you, and hyenas, and you know, and you can hear elephants in the distance. And, you know, I mean, I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I'm from a middle class family in a suburb out of Los Angeles, and I mean, look at this, isn't this friggin' great? You know, and I just thrived on it. And of course, it was towards the end of the war. I didn't see any real action or anything like that, and when the election was over and everything had went south or pear-shaped, as you'd say, you know, I hung on. There were just rumors that something was going to give, and they got rid of all the national service out of the RLI and the SAS, and then there were a few of us bereaved on, you know, maybe there was going to be a coup. We're going to go for Mugabe and the 5th Brigade, which is his bodyguards. And I was tasked with getting all the keys for all the armories, and Jimmy in a truck that would look like it was a good sound mechanically, and which I did this, and then it was called off. I'll never forget Lieutenant Jingles, you know, coming up to me, and I was very close to him. He was really a tremendous officer, Sandhurst, Scottish Black Watch, but he was an Irishman, and he just said to me, Barr, he says, it's off. He says, pack your bag and go. So in December of 1980, I didn't want to leave Africa. I did the selection course and passed it, so the Scouts. And I got in trouble. On my birthday, on April 12th, Alan Jingles stole a can of meat. Don't ask me how he got into the mess tent. And I never thought I'd look at a can of bully beef with such lust, as I hate the stuff. And anyway, but he got it. And there was a guy named Trevor Hodson who was sharing my hole. You know, we know how to live. I know this. Don't get too jealous, folks. And anyway, and you're on your feet most of the time for 20 hours a day. Okay, no food. That was a big thing with him. No food because of Dennis Crocamp's run, that 6-day run he made to the Limpopo. You know, and having contacts every day. And when we blew up that train with Paul French, and I wanted to go and I wanted to be a part of it, but I wanted to be in something good in South Africa. So I did the selection, and but it was on day 3 or 4 or something like that, and you know, Alan Jingles come and give me this can of meat. He says, "Happy birthday, Barr." I thought, wow, what a birthday present! And I got Trevor Hodson sitting there drooling, you know. And so of course I shared the 4-ounce tin or whatever it was. There's 2 ounces of meat we got, and I says, "Check it." I says, "Okay." I says, "You take it way out there and get rid of it." I says, you know, the baboons will get it and they'll bring it back around. Well, he didn't put it too far because he was come back, and the baboons got it. And next morning we're standing tall. I said, okay, who stole the meat? Who stole the bully beef? And Trevor Hodson speaks up. And he says, Dave Barr gave it to me, sir. And you know, he wasn't with us when Alan Jingles gave it to me. And I'm thinking, I'm going to kill him. I'm going to kill this guy, you know, when I get a chance. And anyway, so they said, I said, okay, you two shitheads, you're going to run the obstacle course or the ropes course twice. And I'm like, shit. It was like, if I remember right, something like 300 meters off the ground in ropes and different things overhand on ropes. And then you had a last, I can't remember how many, it was across the wash. You went on top of a rope over to the thing, and then you swung out into the lagoon and dropped into the water and go zoop, right to the bottom, and you turn left, and it's like a ramp up. It's you know, and they put a grenade in there, obviously, you know, to get any crocs out of there before we come. And anyway, and you're going to run it twice. And I'm thinking, yeah. And they didn't do it immediately. It was taking us through the day. It was in the heat. It was on Waffa Waffa, you know, in Lake Kariba, and it was hotter than Billy's blue butt down there, you know. And so I don't know how I did it, but Hodson got through the first time, and he dropped off the second time. And I thought, well, that's him, RTU, good on you, go. And I I knocked it out. I did it twice, and they told me afterwards, we have never had anybody do that course twice. I says, well, you see what fear will do for you, and anyway, and so I carried on with the course.
Yeah.
And and we got through. And then I think on day 5 we had Operation Egg, and you got a raw egg and a match and a little thing to strike it on. And you fail, right? Well, I'll tell you about that. Well, and they drop us off about a kilometer apart.
Yeah.
And anyway, and I thought, I'm going to get a night's sleep. This is going to be great. I'll get about 5 hours sleep.
Yeah.
So I went and got up against a real big tree. And it was marula berry season. I've heard 2 stories. One, elephants get drunk on the marula. The other one, that's not true. I don't know. But it always seemed like the elephants had a meaner attitude when there was marula berries around. And you could hear them, and they're not nice drunks. And not happy guys, anyway. So I get up against a tree and I lay down with my rifle and I think, sleep, this is going to be wonderful. And I'm just about to doze off and hear, Barr! Barr! With an Irish accent. And it was Alan Jingles. It was a full moon night. And I thought, shit. I said, what do you want, Lieutenant? Anyway, so I got up. I thought, well, maybe he got bit by a snake or something. And I went towards the sound and I found him, and he didn't have a rifle, a Bergen, nothing. And he's hugging me. He's like I'm his wife, and been away for a year. And he said, oh, Barr, you won't believe what happened. I said, well, try me. You're out here, sir, you don't have a rifle, nothing. This is the wildest part of Africa. You can get killed. And he said, you wouldn't believe this, but I got into a thicket and I saw a stump. And I dropped my Bergen and I put my rifle against the stump, and it was an elephant that was sleeping it off. And the elephant went nuts, and I ran, and the elephant ran, and anyway, and he says, so here I am. I says, we got to find it, sir. They'll put you off the course. We got to find your rifle and your Bergen. Anyway, and just hopefully the elephant didn't stomp on it and bend it up, Anyway, by God's grace, we found it, and we don't have anything for light, nothing out there. And we found it, and he says, and then once we'd found it, he says, he pulled up a lighter. He had a lighter. Yeah. So somehow he smuggled in. I said, bravo, sir. So we boiled our eggs. All right. And then the next one, we slept back to back up, near a big baobab or some tree. And then the early morning, we both took off and got apart. We went down the road 1 kilometer, or a half a kilometer, both of us. So it was 1 kilometer apart. And we waited for the truck. The truck picked everybody up, and then we got back to the camp, and they said, okay, everybody get out. All right, Operation Egg. All right, give us your egg. And they take your hat off, and guys that didn't, wow, they have, their match went out or something, whatever. And, of course, we got to eat our egg, and that was the best hard-boiled egg I ever had. So that egg started cooking immediately, and by noon, these guys stank to high heaven, because you put your hat, your cover back on. Yeah. And anyway... And we got, I think on day 7, they gave us a ration pack and said, don't eat it. And they took us out 90 kilometers away, filled up our Bergens with rocks, so many kgs of rocks. And he says, they better be the same when you get back. And, and they said, all right, get back. You got 24 hours. Yeah. And about 90 clicks away. Yeah. And they get back. And don't be using roads. Dirt roads, any of that. Yeah. Animal trails, fine. Go for it. All the big high grass and tsetse flies and stuff. We made our way back. It wasn't a big thing. We had the ration pack, and so we'd eat, nibble, which was hard to keep it to a nibble and not gulp the whole thing. And people say you can't do that. It's impossible. No, I says you get your mind right, you can. And so we, a good few of us passed it. It was really a worthwhile exercise. The Rhodesians had something that were really unique, right? And I was so happy to have a little part of that.